Hi everybody, this is Kitsune Horuri and welcome to my channel. Today, I have, as promised to someone, I'm going to be talking about my Fursona and also finding the furry community. For those of you who do not know, though I don't know how you've missed it, I am a furry. I'm part of the furry community around Columbus, Ohio area. I have been an artist in the community for nearly 20 years, and I've also been participating in the local convention for that long. Now, if you're going to go, hey, are you an anthropologist? No, I haven't made it to any of the big ones yet. I would like to. It's kind of on my bucket list to go to a couple of them. Eventually, I hope it'll happen, but I don't know when that's going to happen, anytime near future or otherwise. But anyway, probably the first thing I should address is, how did I find the furry fandom? Actually, I think it kind of accidentally sent out a search party to find me. I was in college at Shawnee State. I was one of the officers running the Shawnee State Fandom Club, which was primarily based in anime, but really it was anything having to do with games, pop culture from any culture. That was the big thing. We didn't care if it was Japanese, American, or what. If it was cool, we wanted to know about it. Comic books were big with us, everything. I mean, we had D&D sessions going on with anime up on the screen, people writing up their characters for their doujinshi, and yeah, it was all going on in the same room at the same time. Well, part of Fantanime was that we all had characters that we did. They were based on anime characters. So mine actually started out, my Fursona started out based on anime. Specifically, Inuyasha. Because I absolutely love anything set up, period pieces in the past, Japanese, American, English. I like background history stuff. And it was an animal. You got the fuzzy ears. I loved it. You had Shippo in there. He was my favorite at the time because he was little and cute and he was a fox. Which actually there was a little bit behind the fox thing by that point as well. But at that time, that's when my character was made, which I will get into in a minute. Now, Fantanime attracted a lot of other people, a lot of groups. We were a very diverse group, and it really worked well. I mean, we had some good stuff going on. But we had a person come in, a friend that was found by, he was dating one of our friends who was already in Fantanime and came down and was hanging around with us for a while. And Fantanime was already doing anime conventions. SugoiCon was our big one. We were there every year, loved it, selling art, doing panels, everything. Cosplay was big for us at that time. Yeah, I used to be a cosplayer, and yes, I did compete a few times. Well, anyway, he comes along, and we're talking about whatever, as we always did, down in the UC, University Center, and he's like, oh, I've got a convention I'm going to next weekend. I'm like, convention? What convention is this? There's a new convention? Because I was always looking for more for the group. He's like, oh, you wouldn't be interested in this. No, really, what kind of convention are we talking about here? It's kind of a, you know, comic book kind of character. Really? Tell me more. I kept pressing him. He kept beating around the bush. I kept pressing him until he finally came out and said, well, it's a furry convention. I'm like, what's a furry? Which is really funny, because if you look at my artwork all the way back to me being a small child, most of it was anthropomorphic animals. I was already doing the artwork furry style from the word go. I mean, even as a small child, you know, me and my friends, when we went out and pretend, we were horses, we were cats, we were, occasionally a Barbie got in there. rarely, or Transformers. But, you know, it was all about the animals. We loved our animals. That's what we did. And, you know, if you look at our cartoons at that time, that's perfectly understandable. We had, like, Get Along Gang, Mon-Chi-Chi's, Paw Paw Bears, Gummy Bears, Alvin and the Chipmunks. I mean, we were kind of primed for this. That's who we were going to end up being, because that's what we were trained to be. But in any case, he finally comes out and tells me about it. He's like, well, you want to come? I'm like, yeah, I want to come. Well, a couple of friends had an apartment up there, so I went up there and stayed with them for the weekend. He actually, you know, drove me up and everything. Gave me a couch to sleep on and whatever else, and that was the first time that I went to Morphicon, which was the original name of the Furry convention in Columbus, which later on kind of rolled over and became Anthro, Ohio. So this is a very small con, and I go in there and I'm like, this is awesome. We've got artists everywhere, just everywhere, all kinds of art, and the vendor's room separate. And if you pay for a ticket to go in there, they fed you. There's a room set up with food all the time, free to anybody who has a badge. Great, so I didn't have to waste all of my cash hunting food, which was good, because in that area there wasn't a lot of fast food at the time. A little hard to get hold of. But there was a really, really good gas station right next to the hotel. Fabulous little place. Good gas price, too. I ended up going to that convention there forward. To be perfectly honest, I believe 2020 is the first time I have not been to that convention since. And that's only because they had to cancel because of things. So anyway, that's how I ended up in furry fandom. Now, at this point in time, I'm an old gray muzzle. I've been here forever. And I spend a little bit of my time answering questions here and there for the young'uns coming in, and occasionally trying to get things going so that everybody has something to do. Now, backing up to the characters from Phantanime. My character, as I said, was based on Inuyasha. So, of course, I'm looking, okay, we're going to do the Japanese clothing thing. And at the time, I was doing karate, kendo. I wasn't doing aikido yet. That came later. No, actually I was doing aikido. I was doing karate, kendo, and aikido. I had a little smattering of jiu-jitsu in there before my back surgery, which had led to me being in college. And prior even to all of that, I had this little judo book that I was messing around with for years. It was much easier once you actually had other people to practice with, by the way. You know, learning from a book, okay. Learning with other people, far better. Oh, excuse the weird lighting here. There's white on the ground over here, and sun coming in over there, and occasionally it uplights me, so I look a little odd. But it's okay. So anyway, my character, I wanted her to reflect me at the time. Of course, if you look at the pictures over here, she's wearing Hakama and Kekogi, which is the outfit that you would wear when you are doing kendo, and actually aikido as well. This is what's under the armor. You're wearing the Hakama, the pants, the long flowing pants. Kekogi is like a gi top for those of you who do karate. Yeah, you wear your pants under that as well, by the way. That's a lot of layers. Because the more layers, the better when you're doing kendo, because it hurts. that little wooden slatted thing can do some damage. But anyway, she wears Hakama and Kekogi. And I'm like, okay, well, she's a kitsune. Not a lot of people had heard this term yet at that time. I don't know how many times I had people go, kitsune means cat, right? No, that's a neko. Well, it sounds like it. I'm like, it's a different language. It doesn't matter. No, she was a kitsune. She was a fox. Specifically, what they call a nine-tails. Misnomer, because not all of them have 9 tails. So here I have my character. Okay, well, great. She needs a name. I just, Holly's Fox. My mother, knowing my interest in Japanese culture, language, animation, everything, martial arts is the biggest one, had found a katakana page way back in the early days of internet and pieced together my first name into katakana, which Holly turns into Horuri. There's 2 L's, so it's not Hori, Horuri. 2 L's, okay? Okay, cool, Horuri. And I could write it at the time. I don't think I can remember now. So she's Kitsune Horuri. Well, she was a little version of me. She wasn't me, she was little me, so she's Horuri-chan most of the time. Well, that was all well and good, but I can't just leave a character as a character. Yes, she was my representative within the Fandom Club. So, when I got into the furry fandom, I'm seeing stories on everything. Oh, I've got to write a story because that's what I do. Everything's a story. And I started doing some world building. First of all, I'm looking at her going, well, not knowing that within a few years, every kitsune on every anime was going to be a blonde. I'm like, well, I got to explain, why is she blonde in Japan? Not that it makes any difference. She was an animal, not a person. But why is she blonde? So I'm flipping around through different things, and I find a species of fox from the area around Egypt and all that is Vulpes pallida, the pale fox. Looks just like a red fox, just about, but it's this pale, creamy, off-white color. I'm like, cool. She's a Vulpes pallida kitsune. You can do that, by the way, with a Fursona. Doesn't matter where they're from, they can fit into everything. So, here she is, Vulpes pallida, pale fox. Alright, cool. How old is she? Well, let's see. Well, if a kitsune has a tail for every lifetime, so to speak, every 100 years, something along those lines, indicates its amount of power. The older it gets, the more tails it has, the more power it has. Alright. Well, at the time she was a 2-tail. I was in my 20s. Alright, this is what I'm going to do. For every 10 years of my life, she gets another tail. So at this point in time, of course, she's a 4-tail. Well, okay. Well, where's those 4 tails? This one aside, this is like the full power goddess, God mode version Horuri with all 9 tails. But every other picture of her only shows 1 tail. Honestly, I didn't want to try and cram all of those tails. I had tried early on to draw her with all of her tails, and it did not look good. I wasn't happy with it. So the story became that all her tails are there, but she actually has them so tightly bundled together that they look like one massive tail. And if you look at some of these pictures of her in her chibi form, her tail's as big as she is, if not bigger. That's because it's a whole bunch of tails bundled together. Makes life easier for me. And the excuse in her stories is they get in the way otherwise. So they're kind of bundled up together. And if needs be, they'll spread out. You know, look a peacock. Hi, I'm beautiful. Look at me. I have all these tails. So, going back into that, where does she come from? Well, I had, again, been looking through different folklore, and sometimes a white fox, actually, was a servant of Inari, which originally was a god of agriculture, women, children, fertility, all that sort of stuff. There's a whole backstory. Inari has since morphed to fit the modern day needs and is for prosperity also in your business. Okay, so she could be a servant of Inari. Or, I've seen white foxes were demon foxes. Okay. So, I decided that she's kind of on an in-between path right now. Her story starts out with her mother running away with her as an infant from a clan of demon foxes who want to take her and make sure she becomes a demon like them. Her mother wanted her to be a servant of Inari like her. So she runs away and protects her baby and leaves her to grow up on her own, but she dies in the process. So Horuri was on her own to figure it all out. You know, the fate of all anime mothers. Sorry, if you're an anime mother, things are rough on you. So really, this is what's going on in her primary story. She's out there running around in a pseudo-medieval Japanese, but not. If you look at any of the stuff I have on DeviantArt, and I may actually go back and do her story, she actually has a TV shows up. She has modern conveniences inside of a house on some of the stuff. But then you step outside and there's a samurai walking down the street, you know, heading off to talk to the shogun. But at the same time, there's technology pops up. It's kind of a cross world where time periods have meshed. It just allowed me to do whatever I wanted with this character. So don't look for a time period for her. Don't look for a solid world. Everything shifts. And there are humans. There are animals. There are little creatures like Horuri and some of the others that I had created in that who are... They change. This is her median form. She's small, compact, low energy when she's doing that. So she, you know, can travel for days and whatever. Her full version, she is human size. Still has the ears and tails. She can look fully human, and she can also shift into a giant fox. And when I say giant, it is huge. But I've never drawn this thing. Anybody who wants to draw that, feel free. I do have one fox version up here from, I'm going to use your nickname, Lyric. Let me know if it's okay if I use your full name. But Lyric, L-Y, spell it, L-Y-R-A-K. Huh, okay. My brain's not working today. This little piece of artwork was done by Lyric. This one over here, this badge was... I got that when I was 27, so about the time I got married. And it was at... I'm going to say it was at OhioCon. Before it turned into the giant con it is now. And there was a gentleman named Robert DeJesus there. And he was making con badges by doing an illustration looking at you. And I was cruising around wearing my ears. So that's kind of a Horuri version of me on that one. Yeah, everything else on here, other than these, are my artwork of her. And I'll be showing a few more on there for you. But in any case, that's Horuri. Oh, was there anything else I needed to tell you about her? Do you have any questions about her, actually? Let me know. You know, anything about the world that she lives in, or the other characters that can possibly be in it. If you want the backstory, though, be forewarned, it's very, very, very long. There's been many decades to actually develop her. So, you know, if you want to hear about her, you got at least 20 plus years worth of planning and whatever that went into her. So yeah, that was Horuri-chan. If you would like to see more of this type of content, please feel free to go and visit my Patreon. I do have 3 tiers, $1, $5, and $10. And currently there is a poll up to find out what the extra Patreon reward will be on the $10 level. I do have a couple of options up there. A sticker, a badge, and a sketch. Details are written in there. And I also have a space for other. If you have another idea of what you think would be a really good gift for my patrons who are supporting me at the $10 level, yeah, you can write it in. Let me know. You do have to sign in to be able to write in comments, though, on Patreon. But it doesn't cost anything to be on there anyway. And then you can cruise around, see what all creators are on there, including some other people that you might be familiar with, and maybe you want to support them as well. But feel free to look. Or maybe you yourself are a creator and would like some support, and you could have a look and get yourself set up. I'm saying have a look an awful lot. Anyway, visit my Patreon, Steam Fox Latte. Visit me on Facebook or Tumblr, also under Steam Fox Latte, or DeviantArt as Kitsune Horuri, same as you see here. And if you have questions, comments, whatever, let me know. I am more than happy to answer questions. Just so you know, it gets real funny when I answer a troll. You've seen The Witch. You haven't seen The Witch, go back on the page a little bit. You'll find it. It's fun. So, like, subscribe, share, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for your support. Bye-bye.